You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show.
Hello, hello, hello. I don't know what this song is.
Dirty Little Secret.
Oh, it is Dirty Little Secret. I love this
You get
song.
it?
I do get it.
Yeah, Steven, you're so clever.
This episode is Dirty Little Secret, and if you didn't know already, it's the after show for Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. I am your host, Jacque Borowski. With me is Keaton. Not Keaton.
Keaton's not here. I'm
so tired. I looked over at Tiona blank in the face and called her Keaton.
So
Tiona and
basically, Keaton and I
Marisa.
look alike.
Hello.
just
They're twins, you guys. It's not my fault.
The resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell us apart.
I've been
Almost
there
as
for
bad
years.
as like Cyrus and all his brothers, you know? It's just that kind of.
Let's start with talking about that. We get Cyrus's backstory, and in the last episode, Cyrus says the other two bottles are of genies are my brothers, and I got really excited because I've now decided Cyrus. I was wavering on whether or not he was attractive because I know this is an important plot point, and I finally decided that he was. And then when I heard that he was getting two brothers in the same episode that I decided that he was attractive, I was like, ooh, attractive brothers that'll look like Cyrus. Okay, they're attractive. They look nothing like Cyrus.
Nothing.
No, nothing like it.
They didn't even talk with the same accent.
No.
So I don't know where, I mean, being from Agrabah, I was expecting something completely different. But even Cyrus himself, like, I've never really thought that he looked very Middle Eastern.
I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was. I don't know if it was mentioned before this, but I didn't think he was from Agrabah.
Yeah.
Which is why it kind of threw me. I'm like, okay, he's from Agrabah, and okay, he looks nothing like his family. Maybe he's adopted. I don't know. But the actual actor, I looked it up because I was like, I'm so confused because they're not. I mean, I know these are supposed to be fictional places, but Agrabah is set up as a Middle Eastern city, kind of referentially. And so I looked him up. He was born in England, but he's half Dutch and half Mexican. So
Not by Middle East.
right. And so I was just like, I love how they're just kind of like lumping them all together. Because they're like, yeah, this looks the same. Okay.
You're
no.
tan. You look ethnic. Come on, be on the show.
It's like when they cast people and their like role is vaguely ethnic. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Stop that.
But it kind of makes me think maybe they're half brothers.
Yeah.
And that way maybe
That is true.
Cyrus is actually a mix, but maybe he has another parent. You know?
Maybe
they had the same mom, but a different
I would
dad.
love it if they had that kind of like, we only have 3 episodes left, but I would love it if they have that kind of like plot twist going on.
Yeah.
Because then, that first like, one thing does not look like the other, would just make me feel happy. But on another front, I think he's also different than his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was gambling in the beginning, and I'm like, ooh, he's doing bad things. And apparently now, 100 or so years later, after being a genie, he has learned from his mistakes. But he was gambling, and it was the guys who he kind of like who lost the gambling thing that burned the house.
That
Burned
was
the
my
house down.
takeaway.
That was my takeaway.
Yeah.
If you know or think otherwise, that was how we interpreted it. But please let us know.
Because Cyrus said something along the lines of, it's my fault if I hadn't been greedy with, my winnings. But I never, it was so dark in that moment when the people were riding away that I didn't exactly know who, until he said that, who did this to his mom.
I'm pretty sure it was because they cut that scene right to the next one, just how they juxtaposed those two scenes from the gambling and the guys being sore losers to the burning of the house and almost killing his mother.
Yeah.
Also, there are some lessons in here. One, you should never get so angry over a poor gambling situation that you go and burn someone's house. Because someone might be inside said house.
But it was also karma, too, a bit, because Cyrus was being the arrogant
and that was the other thing. It's like, don't rip people off.
Yeah, don't be
Well,
a
he
card
admitted
shark.
that he cheated because he's like, it's not cheating unless you got caught. He didn't get caught.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, that's going to eventually affect you. And then 1 second later, oh, their house is getting burnt down.
Yeah,
So-
it's a very, very different Cyrus that we see. And so
I kind of liked this Cyrus.
I
though.
liked
interesting.
Bad Boy Cyrus.
Yeah.
I think that's why I decided I liked him, because I was like, oh, Cyrus has a
He has
nice
a dark side. He
Yeah.
has a dirty side.
because so far the sexiest guy on the show to me, nope, they're Will and Jafar. I like them both. Yeah, I like them both. Even though like Jafar, hands down, is probably one of the darkest characters in the whole Once Upon a Time kingdom, and this is why he's the only character that willy-nilly kills people in pretty much every episode.
Yeah.
He just walks around, he's like, dead, boom, you're dead, boom. I'm like, your death toll is very large.
They should actually have like a Jafar death toll. You know,
Yes!
like a counter
Yeah.
that just kind
Yes.
of like every time he kills someone just pops
I'm
up.
sure he would beat Regina, even though Regina is so badass.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it would beat hers.
Yeah. I
Just
think
because
so,
he
too.
has no qualms about it. At least Regina kind of like,
Yeah, Regina has qualms.
Yeah.
She holds herself back and she wants to do better, but
Right.
Jafar is just like out there. It's
Right.
Like, nope,
Just going
nope,
for
I'm
it.
gonna do it.
you know.
No
He's
one's
out for
stopping
blood.
me.
So his mom got burnt, and we don't get to see what she looks like, which to me, like that moment, I was like, I know who his mom is
Yeah, I
gonna
was
be.
like, well, that's obvious. They kept panning on the staff, you know, like every
Right.
time they'd mention
Yeah.
mom, cut to the staff. It's like, oh.
Jafar's like walking around and they're like, he's like having a conversation. The camera's like, meep, down to the staff.
It's like,
or
oh.
from the staff up to
Oh,
Jafar.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's like, I wonder who their mother could be.
Right.
I don't know.
That was a good, I mean,
was very
before this
obvious.
episode, I
Yeah.
don't think we knew that. So that was a good plot twist despite in the episode being
I thought it
obvious.
was interesting. I mean, yes, they covered her face for, that big reveal at the end of the episode, but I thought it was interesting how they kind of covered her like a mummy in a way. I was like,
Yes.
are they going to bring the mummy kind of storyline into Once? That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, bring the Egyptian kind of.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Flair.
Yeah.
Does ABC own
Right.
Indiana Jones?
I don't know.
I don't
Or mummy?
think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Um,
That'd be cool though.
it would
Bring,
be
like
cool.
King Tut or something.
Ooh, yes. I would
Yeah.
like that. I would like that.
Yes.
Let's make that happen once upon a time.
Yes.
So Jafar, what am I saying? Cyrus learns that he has to get this magic water from
The Well of Wonders.
the Well
Well.
of Wonders. That's what it was.
Because I wrote down in my notes, Cave of Wonders, because that's immediately where my head went.
Yes.
And then they showed up at a well. And I
Yes.
was like, clearly I got that wrong.
But it reminded me of the
But it-
well from Once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
did
leads
remind me
to
of that.
Lake Nostos.
But also, isn't it called the Cave of Wonders on the actual movie Aladdin?
Yeah.
Aladdin,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
So
But I did like how they connected with the water thing in Lake Nostos because, Anastasia does say that, there's every place has the Well of Wonders
Yes.
connected to it. So that did make me think of Lake Nostos and like the connection there with the well and
Yeah.
Storybrooke and everywhere.
And they made a couple references like really fast at the Golden Compass, and the water can make a cowardly man brave, which made me think Wizard of Oz, and we know that Once Upon a Time series is bleeding into the Wizard of Oz.
that was a good catch.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if they all just like met in Oz? That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
All roads lead to Oz.
They all just need to go down the well and meet in Oz.
Yes. Or maybe
Yeah.
that is a
Portal.
time
Or down the
traveling
rabbit
portal.
hole.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Into
I mean,
The land
but
of
I loved
Oz.
how they threw a Wizard of Oz reference in.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So they, the brothers, Cyrus convinces his brothers that they should go with him. They're sort of reluctant, and then they go, and a creature that we all said looks like the girl from The Grudge comes out.
Yeah.
But
She
here's the
was
thing.
creepy though.
Yeah, she was really
Here's the thing.
creepy.
When I saw her, I don't feel like the actress who plays the Jabberwocky. I'm just gonna say this right now. I don't like the odd, like first off, I want a beast. Like, when I hear about Jabberwocky, the poem and everything, it's got, like, teeth and it's, like, a large skin. You imagine this huge beast, and you get a person. And I'm like, or maybe she could be, like, Maleficent, where she's, like, a person who turns into a beast. But I'm like, I just want to see, I know you spent all your budget of CGI on the rabbit, but at least you could try and do something that's like a beast, because I was really looking forward to seeing that, and then it was a person, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, Tiona and I, we talked about it last after show when we first were introduced to Jabberwocky, how it was interesting that they chose a female lead to be, but her movements is very animalistic, like she's crawling around like a spider in a way, even though spider's not animal, it's an arachnid, ew. but just like it's a creature-like being, but in a human kind of form. So maybe this is their interpretation of the Jabberwocky, because we even looked at a picture, like Jabberwocky is depicted as like a mix of a dinosaur / winged creature / dragon, kind of like, so that kind of mystical being. But the fact that they're using a human form may make it more creative in a way that like a human can turn into something else. So maybe I
think it's lazy and cheapness, but
well,
that's
I also think that everything about the Jabberwocky is inspired and in homage to Lady Gaga, because
she's wearing a cheap wig.
She's wearing a wig. She's like, all her movements, her scary eye makeup. It's just all Lady Gaga, or should I say Lady Gaga? And yeah, so I'm not really a fan of the Jabberwocky right now, but I mean, I think that every character, I mean, look at Lizard, you know, every character they bring on for a reason. We might not see it at first, why, but you know, eventually.
I mean, I see what they brought her in to be, kind of like a foil to Jafar, since they took away the other foil. But I don't see why. And this is the other thing that I think once has done so well. I mean, you already have Maleficent, who is a woman who can turn into a dragon. I don't see why women can't be scary beasts too. I don't see why that character could not have been a scary beast voiced by a woman. I think that would have been even more bizarre and shocking to the audience, especially if Jafar had a relationship with her. I'm going there. Jafar's already had a relationship with a surrogate mom. He can have a relationship with a beast too.
Maybe. I think they're using the female human form of Jabberwocky, because right now we don't really know where she's going, where her storyline's really going, because we don't know if she's really good. I mean, we know she's bad, but she can, even last week's episode, she turned on Jafar really quickly, so she could go either way. And just a matter of where her character is going to end up, I think, is the fun part.
Speaking of which, I thought that the woman who played the kind of grudge character, who's the keeper of the well,
guardian of the well.
She was much more compelling to me as an actress, as a character, with her makeup, than the Jabberwocky. And I was like, why didn't they do that kind, instead of doing like a Lady Gaga kind of makeup? They could have done more like something, because she looked like a creature to me. She read as a creature, even though she was a person. And it kind of reminded me too of the woman in the second Pirates movie, who has like the blacked out teeth, who's like
was it
like the
Oracle?
swamp lady?
The one who ends up being Davy Jones's lover.
Yes.
Who scorned him.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back to those movies.
Yes.
I will.
She lives in like the bayou, I think. But I'm like,
right.
I'm like that kind of like otherworldly kind of creature. Where she, to me, read as otherworldly. So did the woman who's the keeper of the well.
I think it might be because the guardian of the well, her face was mostly covered in makeup.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the Jabberwocky, it's all like really human form.
It's like
so we're used to that normal looking person.
And I liked her voice too. I liked her otherworldly like voice.
I liked how she appeared just like so creepily and like just I'm right here.
Yes.
Out of the water.
So she tells them not to take the water because their mom is going to die anyway. And Cyrus basically says, no, we have to take this water and save our mom. So, of course, they take the water, they save their mom. And in the end, we learn why she says the mom's going to die anyway, because she's kind of an oracle and already knows that Jafar is going to enslave or capture or whatever the mom.
Or her fate was already sealed.
Yeah, her fate was already sealed. And it's interesting that I liked this idea that everything happens for a reason that they brought up in this episode, where you learn that so their mom taught Jafar his magic. So if the mom didn't live, then Jafar wouldn't be the awful character he is now. So she was basically warning them against, hey, this, you're going to cause a chain of events that you don't know about now, but it'll make sense later.
Yep. And that's always what I love about these things, because even Cyrus he didn't take it that far because he still doesn't know the connection. But, towards the end when he was talking to Alice, he was like, your life wouldn't be miserable if I hadn't have convinced my brothers to do this, if I had just, lived my life the way it should have been. Like, I wouldn't have affected the way that you're living your life now, too. And also, it was Tia Dalma was the character from Pirates of the Pirates.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. The interesting thing is that Amara in this episode, she seems like she's good. And she knows good magic. And then in the episode when we saw her teaching dark magic to Cyrus, it's like, it makes me wonder where that turn was.
Here's my thing. She reminds me, in this instance, it's another kind of Regina parallel.
That's what I was thinking.
Where Regina learns the magic because she has this lover who she wants to bring back, or because she's so miserable in her situation. And I feel like this woman, she lost her sons, and we know from watching the earlier episodes that she wanted to get all 3 bottles. Now we know why she wanted to get all 3 bottles. Yeah. Not necessarily to change the laws of magic, but because her sons were in them.
Which begs the question, what if she, gave this spell or whatever Jafar is going to do, and it actually just frees them all instead of doing anything else, like giving him power? That would just her
awesome.
kind of front
Yeah.
that, I'll be so magical with all these powers. But yeah, I was going to say too that another thing I noticed about Amara in this episode is when we finally do get the reveal of her, she looks the same age as all 3 of her sons.
Yes, that's what
We talked about that.
What's up with that? Because I know they say black don't crack, but that's on a whole nother level right there. Because they all look, I was like, are you sure that's not your older sister?
Right?
Yeah.
I was watching that and I'm like, unless like maybe she signs some deal where she gets to age very slowly or something.
I put young mother. I mean, but if they could pull it off in Once Upon a Time, if Snow White and Charming can be the same age as Emma.
Sense because of the whole curse thing.
I
We
know.
are not explaining
I know,
this.
but if they can do it in once, they can do it in this way, in a different way. Like, they were cursed too, and she was cursed, so it's a different type of curse. They're still the same age.
Yeah, and I mean they didn't explain, how she knew about the guardian of the waters.
Yes.
So maybe
she has been
doing magic or something, and has been keeping herself young and pretty.
I also noticed, so whoever her, it wasn't her handmaiden. Was she a doctor, I think? She was some sort of healer?
Yeah, I thought I put her down as grandma, but...
I was going to write,
I think she was supposed to be a healer. So this woman who was with her and the boys, they all come in with the water, and they're like, we need more water or whatever. There's an instant where she gives them the wonkiest side eye while they're keep trying to do this. Like, come on, guys, whatever, And so I'm wondering if she doesn't know something's up. Or is that's just the actress trying to be funny? But I was like, she definitely gave some wonky side eye there.
My thing is, how the heck are they going to get all the water back?
Push their mother inside is how I...
But I'm like, okay, the mom drank some. I don't think you're going to want that water back.
It's already gone if she peed since then.
Well, I know, but it's just the Nick said you have to return all the water. I'm like, how are you going to return it? Some of it on the floor that you just appeared from. Some of it's in Amar. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to return every single droplet of water back.
Her tears. The water stored in
like
her tear
mermaid
socket.
tears.
Yes. I was also thinking of Phoenix.
Phoenix
Tears
that's
from
what I was
Harry
thinking
Potter,
of.
but A Mermaid's Tears actually makes more sense in this show. So thank you.
Because it's part of the Pirates franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking Phoenix too.
But yes, Phoenix Tears as well. I do love Harry Potter references when they're even not related.
Yeah.
I use them on Sleepy Hollow to annoy most people. So then so we've got Cyrus's whole backstory, and we have a modern timeline now current timeline with Alice and Cyrus, who, I don't know, it looks to me like the relationship's getting kind of testy. Like, it had a honeymoon period of about, 10 minutes, and now they're like, meh, 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 meh.
Yeah.
They're kind of going at it.
They've been having their issues. I think that they've never been able, he's not a genie anymore.
Right.
So they're not, I don't know, they have to reevaluate their relationship, and they've also been apart for so long. Both of them thought the other one was gone forever. So I think it's just still that awkward phase. And then something Marisa and I talked about last week too, the way Alice was brought back, to Will's wish was to end her suffering, and then she doesn't remember any of that suffering. So what from her relationship maybe does she not remember? Is the wish somehow affecting her feelings in a way?
Because she feel is she now a sociopath?
Because she was acting kind of stank in the last episode too. So I don't know. She
was kind of the same in tonight's episode too. I mean, she was asking Cyrus, "How come you didn't tell me?" I was like, "You were only together for one day."
And also, you didn't tell him about that asylum when you had the chance. So
who's holding back information from each other?
They're both holding stuff back, and they need to just
But I think it's because they expected at this point to meet up and have everything be magically wonderfully fine, and it's still not. And I think she said it in last episode, didn't she, that that they have to keep she was like, we'll have to keep chasing things, we'll have to keep solving problems, and I don't want to do that. But
every good relationship is like that. You have to go through your obstacles.
Yeah.
But every day, man, every day with them, it's something new. I was thinking about this at the end of the episode when Alice was giving her big pick-me-up speech. I was like, here we go with another pick-me-up speech, because you know how every episode has to end with a pick-me-up, because the whole episode is tearing them apart.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they find a way to come back together, and Alice gives a great pick-me-up speech, like, we can do this together. Let's go find your mom. I need to meet her, and scene. So and done. So I was like, I'm noticing the formula here, and maybe one day they just won't have that pick me up anymore. Sometimes you just need to fight,
Maybe they can just have a day of happiness. I mean, I hate bringing it back to original ones, but Snow White and Prince Charming, every time they finally got back together, they were ripped apart in the same minute. The one meets up with someone, they're apart. One meets up with the other one, then they're apart. And I think that's their formula for Wonderland. They're finally together, they have something to get through, and then, all right, let's get through the next thing, and then just, that's their pattern.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have stories without obstacles. And the only difference of this show is, once the flagship show has such a huge cast that it's now you can have, because now Emma has this whole, Neil or Hook decision, plus a whole lot of other things going on. You can now have the parents be happy together having a baby, because you can have that happen with the surrounding characters. But in this cast, it's really only the two pairs. It's Cyrus and Alice, and then the Red Queen and Will. And then the problem was, I'm like, oh, you throw in this. Okay, as much as I was not that interested in Lizard and excited to see that she became relevant, she died so quickly that I was just like, you took what could be a love interest for him and killed it off so quickly that now there's no question, whereas the love triangle would have made it more interesting.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think they tried to tell it to the audience more definite that it should be the Red Queen and Knave together. When you take Lizard out of the equation, then you're kind of okay, now they have to get back together. I
get that, but it's you still want an element of obstacle, and you don't want the obstacle to just be that he's a genie and she's not, because that's the same obstacle we had before.
Yeah, and you also want another element to the story, because it's been, these main four plus Jafar the whole time. So giving us someone else to kind of root for or to take the focus off of them every now and then, how once, original Once has that opportunity to. It would have been nice, as much as, I mean, I wasn't a big Lizard fan either, but it was kind of nice to have something else going on instead of the typical, like, Red Queen loves Will. Will doesn't have a heart, so he can't love her back. Oh, Cyrus and Alice love each other, but they're fighting, and, it's kind of the same thing being drawn out more and more, and I think that keeping Lizard around could have brought a new element.
Yeah, and there was that nice moment at the end where it's like, she finally says, I want you to feel something, and he does. And it was interesting because one of our YouTube commenters said that they thought that maybe because Will doesn't have a heart that he took hers, and that's what happened. I thought that was an interesting theory. But at the same time, it was like, I still would have liked, you hit that moment where he can feel something, and then she's gone and out of the picture. And I'm like, oh, but you should have hit that moment and then kept her alive, because that would have been interesting.
Or kept him feeling a little bit longer so that someone else could see that he is capable of it and see where that went. But
yeah, maybe.
I do love that actor, Michael Socha. Is that, yeah, he just plays, so everything he gets, he plays so well. Yes. And I think the audience is 100% behind him in whatever he does, which is like, why wouldn't you throw more stuff at him?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's cut to commercial.
Tuesdays on Oxygen.
I'm Maria Menounos, and my life can get a little crazy. I host Extra. I'm an actor, producer, dancer, wrestler, and a lot of other things. I live with Kevin, my boyfriend of 15 years. Do you really love me?
I would say that I'm in serious like.
And my parents. Yep. I just said I live with my parents.
You drive me crazy.
You drive me crazy. My parents want us to get married.
You both love each other. Get married.
Kevin and I don't. I am going to get married when I want to get married. I think I want kids. Kevin definitely doesn't want them now.
This is being pushed on to us.
And of course, my parents wanted them yesterday.
This year, you gotta have it.
And I have a house full of people counting on me financially. If I take my eye off the ball, everything can fall apart.
It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or wants us to do. It's what we want to do.
Everyone thinks that they know what's best for me, but I'm really the only one. I have got to figure things out.
Chasing Maria Menounos is so new. Every Tuesday at 10, 9 Central, starting March 18, only on Oxygen.
So you guys should check out the Chasing Maria show on Oxygen. I'm sure you will see some familiar faces on it.
AfterBuzz!
AfterBuzz! Represent! Plus, it just looks like a fun show.
Yeah.
So you should see it for that reason, too. So back to Wonderland. They go in search of the well that's in Wonderland, because we learn from the Red Queen that the wells are in it flows through all of the different worlds. I wonder if it's in our world too. Do you think?
That'd be cool.
I think like our world, or like Storybrooke, our world.
See, that's a whole other thing, because Storybrooke is like technically enchanted.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So like New York City.
Yeah, like New York City.
Or like Niagara Falls could be.
Oh, what if that's just the big well of
there you go.
everything, and then
There's a grudge giant.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know.
It's true.
Might be there.
So they go through the forest and they come on these two red doors, and who I interpreted to be Dr. Evil. He looked like Dr. Evil so much. It was killing me. And the whole time, and the poor actor, I couldn't help it. I was like, Dr. Evil, Dr. Evil. Ask her not to call you Mister.
Mister.
Dr. Evil. So he gives a riddle, sort of. I wouldn't call it a riddle.
He just didn't answer.
Yeah, he basically is like, this door is like uncertain death, and then another door is
this one
the
you'll
well.
get pulled under. This one will lead to like wonder or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wrote it
But like, okay, what did you think of Alice's way of figuring out the so-called riddle?
I think I'm kind of a smart person, and I still didn't get how she figured it out.
Me neither.
And that might be because I was tired, but I'm just like, I don't understand how she came to that conclusion.
Okay, I think she figured it was all it was yes or no questions, and then he was a liar. But I'm like, that had nothing to do with the actual riddle. It's just him like telling you the answer in a vague way.
Right.
And then when they finally opened the door, she's like, I'm good at riddles. I was like, no, you're not. You're good at asking questions.
I will just say this. I figured out which door it was because Cyrus said to him, which door is it? And he didn't answer, but he glanced over.
He looked.
His eyes looked over at the door.
That too.
And I was like, oh, well, that's the door. He just told you without saying any words. He's trying to help you out here, but
Just
you're yelling
like the
at
real
him.
Dr. Evil, no subtlety.
Yeah.
Well, they were trying to throw the audience off because the correct door had the invisible shield, and then the other one, Alice could touch it. Like, you think you could get through that one easier. But, yeah, I noticed the glance, too.
Yeah.
Maybe she figured it out because I think, here's what I think. There was a yes or no question about whether or not there were any other ways to get there. And he tried to get around it and couldn't get there. And so I think that's what she decided. But I'm like, just because you tried to go around it doesn't mean there aren't other ways to do it. Mm-hmm. And that means that his answer couldn't have been right or something. I don't know. Whatever. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. And if you figured it out, what was going on before we did, we'd like to know.
And before the eye glance.
And before the eye glance.
That totally gave it away.
Yeah. So he goes to the well and he talks to the grudge. And Alice sneaks in because every trusting relationship means that you should follow that person and listen to everything they say. I was like, Alice, why are you doing that?
He said he wants to do it alone. Let the man be alone.
Right.
Smothering is not cute.
No. It's not cute.
No.
Also, like, if you are in this sort of, like, epic romance and you really think that you're meant for each other, you have to trust that other person. You have to. And so it's like you have to trust that he wants to go and do this on his own for a reason. And so she found out, although, on the other hand, he should have told her, you know, about his past, and she should have told him about hers, which she still hasn't. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, no, she did. She did at the end of the episode.
There was that one moment before they even got to the doors where she's like, I don't think you ever told me. And he's like, did I? Or, well, it's, you know, not important. He kind of brushed it off. And then you got that reaction from her, like, he's not telling me something. Yeah. And then that, I think, is what made her go through the door with him as well.
But still, people need to do things on their own time.
Yeah, she already, but at that moment, she realized something was up with Cyrus, and he wasn't telling the whole truth to it.
Yeah, and I think she was probably scared about what he might do in there, but at the same time, she's held things back from him that, you know, she has come to tell him in her own time. So, you know, he's finding out all these things. You just found out that his brothers are in bottles and all this stuff. So he's still dealing with a lot of things too. So you kind of have to let him get to the point where he wants to talk about it with you on his own time and not follow him into the secret garden or I don't know.
It was like the secret garden.
I don't know what that place was, but
it was like the secret garden. So she follows him in there. She finds out about his past. He and her have some sort of like opening up about both of their pasts, and then she's like, okay, Tiona says the uplifting speech of let's go find your mom. I don't know where they're going to start or how they're going to figure it out, so I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, because the grudge character didn't really give them anything to go off of. Just, you know, Cyrus is like, how do you expect me to get you the water back? My mom's gave it to her 100 plus years ago.
Yes.
She's dead now, and that's when she's like, no, your mother's alive, or your mother lives. And last week, we said he mentioned something about it was something about like when we found out his brothers, and then one of us predicted, I was like, his mom's not dead, because of that, and then we found out that she is alive.
Yeah, that the family's not dead.
Yeah, the family. Because Cyrus never said that his family was dead. He just said they've been gone for a while now. It was like, he never said they were dead. Mm-hmm. So does that mean mom and dad might be
they were
dead?
Lost.
Yeah, they were lost.
They were lost.
Yeah.
They weren't dead.
Also, something just dawned on me. How did he not realize that his brothers were in bottles when they all got turned into the genies at the same time?
He said he spent years looking for them, but he thought that they were just kind of gone forever.
Oh, yeah. He didn't realize Jafar had the bottles.
He didn't know where they were because then she poofed them all away and probably sent them to 3 different parts of the world.
Yeah, but then Cyrus found out last week that Jafar was looking for the bottles. That, you know, sparked his memory and be like, oh yeah, my brothers are in the bottles. He has my brothers.
So maybe that's how he'll put together that his mom might have known Jafar in some way, because who else would know about 3 bottles that are all connected by something?
Or maybe Jafar, I don't know. I don't have anything there. But let's move on to where Jafar has captured the Red Queen, who sadly was earlier in the episode was trying to redeem herself. I don't know about this because I feel like she was like quasi-selfishly trying to redeem herself.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'll just rule this kingdom and give everybody their power. But you still want to rule the kingdom. It's not like you want to give it to somebody else who you think deserves it.
Yeah. Well, she wants to be the queen that they deserve.
Right. But she still wants to be a queen.
But she still wants to
rule.
be the queen.
Yeah.
But I did like that she went to apologize to the rabbit.
I like that.
The one thing that this new Red Queen, we went from her being so mean and cruel to her being so almost weak-like, because in every scene she looks like she's about to start crying as soon as someone says something. She's like, I'm so sorry, and you know, she goes into that whole thing. I'm like, why are you crying again? You were just the person who they feared. You had his family tied up and, you know, like hidden away from him. You're forcing him to do horrible things, and now you're kind of like quivering and, you know.
Well, I think it's just to show that she really is trying to make amends and redeem herself in that way. And, like, the only way you can do that is really break down and show that raw, vulnerable side of you in front of, like, all of her enemies that she's made. She's going to have to show that she is truly trying to be better.
Yeah, but stop crying so much, you know? Just...
And then she runs into the Jabberwocky, and she's bested by the Jabberwocky. And we learn that the Vorpal Blade, which is from the Jabberwocky poem, is the only thing that can stop the Jabberwocky, which I think Jafar has it.
Jafar has it. Yeah. He's like,
because I wasn't sure if she got it back in the end or if he kept it, but he has it.
He kept it.
And so they end up being taken. Will and the Red Queen end up being taken by Jafar, and so they're prisoner. And Jafar and the Jabberwocky are basically taunting the Red Queen to use all her wishes so Jafar can have the genie. And this brings me to my next qualm, which is, why has everyone become creepily sexual on this show? I'm like, I thought this was a family show, and all of a sudden things turn really dark and sexual, where, like, the Jabberwocky wants to have sex with Jafar, and Jafar wants to have sex with the Jabberwocky, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like everyone, really.
And the Jabberwocky was awkwardly close to Red Queen. Yeah, that whole mental torture.
They're close, and then Jafar's close to the Red Queen, and everybody's talking really close to each other. And I'm like, I understand that there have to be like close-ups and you have to stand a certain distance, but this is just getting like really creepy, sexual, and everybody's talking kind of sexy too, or like not what I think is sexy, but in what I assume is supposed to be their sexy voice.
And then I loved how Will is just over in the other corner, like, what's going on? You guys are boring me over here.
Honey Badger don't care about what this orgy is.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, ooh, this is supposed to be a family show, and I don't know what's happening. Everybody's getting, like, all sexy in the dungeon.
But with the whole wishes scene, and, you know, the Jabberwocky trying to get them out of the Red Queen, I felt like it was too easy to do, and I wasn't sure if the intent is that if the Jabberwocky can get in your head like the way we saw her do with Jafar last week, if when she finally broke the Red Queen down and then was telling her, wish for your crown, if she had to do it, if it was almost like a sort of genie power where she had no choice, but like her body had to react with what she was telling her no matter how hard she fought it, or if she just rolled over and died, or rolled over and gave up real quick, because I was confused and I wasn't sure which what they were going for there.
Like the Jabberwocky compelled her, like got her into that mental state where she realized what she wanted, and then kind of forced her to say it out loud. Like
like were those the Jabberwocky's words going in her ear and like coming out?
Yeah, like Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I wondered that too because I felt like it wasn't really well explained because I really, as much as we've seen the Queen in the past, like 2 episodes kind of like break down to this like sobbing character, I'm like, I really don't feel that she would given that easily, especially not for Will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
you have Will over there saying, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
So you think that she would fight harder for it
and
really not give them what they want, but
I felt like that was such a weird, those were weird wishes to make. You want your crown, you want your jewels, those are like nothing, and then you want it to stop, maybe, but like crown and jewel, I'm like, there's so many other things that I think Red Queen would probably want to wish more than her crown and jewels.
I think she was saying that as, I mean, I think this, from a writing perspective, was supposed to be a symbol of, this is what you thought you really wanted. You wanted to be a queen, like bejeweled, and this is what you really thought you desired. Well, here it is.
And I also think it had to do with how simple it is, because wishes come with, prices, and Jafar stops her before, because Will had the great idea of wish him out of Neverland, and he silences her before she can do that. So I think instead of making the wishes complicated and tricky too, simple, I want my crown.
Right.
I want my jewels, and then, they know that they're safe and nothing will happen to Jafar or the Jabberwocky also.
That's a good point. Yeah. So that's pretty much where the episode ends, because then he has all the wishes and he's about to do this spell that we don't know what's going to happen. So predictions?
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, I am excited that according to the teaser that we got to see, Cora will be there next week, as well as a little trip to Storybrooke.
Yes,
now,
I
don't know how I feel about the trip to Storybrooke, because, I mean, I know that this series started in Storybrooke, but now that we have other things happening on the other show for Storybrooke, I just don't know how I feel about, them going back there. And
or how it matches up with the Storybrooke timeline.
I'm sure they'll match it up, but it's just, I mean, why do we need to go back there? But, I mean, they're looking for Will's heart.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know, because, they have references to Wizard of Oz in the show, too, so maybe that might be the crossover somewhere in that. I think because this Jabberwocky person, we saw her, the first time we saw her, she was pinned, but who put her there in the first place?
That's a good question.
I think maybe we'll find out who is powerful enough, because it wasn't Jafar, he was the one who released her, but who was the person strong enough to put her there in the first place. And then I don't know what's going to happen when Jafar releases all the genies. And how they're going to figure out Amara's in the staff.
Oh, I had a prediction about that. Because Jafar tells Anastasia about Amara slightly. He doesn't use her name, but he says, I used to have another one of you, basically, and I found another use for her, and it was the staff.
That's right.
So Anastasia kind of has an idea
yes,
that.
She does.
So I think maybe if they actually talk to each other, that they could put the pieces to the puzzle together to figure it out. But I was like, that's the only other person outside of Jafar who knows that the staff is actually a person.
So once Alice and Cyrus meet up with Anastasia, and then it'd be like, hey, I need to know where my brothers and my mom are, and then Anastasia would be like, yeah, I know where your mom is.
And I want to know what the brothers' reactions are going to be to seeing Cyrus, because I didn't want to do it in the first place, bro. You made me do this, and now I've been cursed in a bottle.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'll be a nice family reunion.
Not a nice family reunion.
And then you get mom in there too. Ooh, man.
Oh, they're all going to be the same age.
Yeah, they're all going to still look the same age.
The same age.
Yes. Agelessness. Any last thoughts?
They made a quick little reference to Little Pig.
Oh yes, they did.
So so I'm like, is she the big bad wolf? as well, because Once has a lot of characters that are multiple characters, like Rumple is a million characters.
Might be.
Maybe Jabberwocky is also a big bad wolf. Who knows?
Maybe. I took that and I was like, oh man, is she saying she looks like a pig? That's rude. Like, how dare you call another woman a pig? That's where my mind went. But
well, thank you for listening to our after show. I am Jacque Borowski, and you can find me at 123Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123JackieB, all one word, on Instagram. Where can they find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at the Tiona Hobson.
And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
Thanks,
guys.
Have a good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.